And welcome to the Home Depot Center in Carson, California for now the main event of our special two-site triple header. Moments from now, 147-pound titleist Antonio Margarito faces off with undefeated Paul Williams in a bout which stands to have big impact on the talent-laden welterweight division. Hello again, I'm Jim Lampley. In a moment, you'll be hearing from HBO boxing analyst Larry Merchant. Very quickly, let's take a look at the graphic with which we began the evening, looking at some of the very top names in the welterweight division. And obviously, the biggest splash of the evening so far has been scored by Kermit Cintron with his spectacular second-round knockout victory over Walter Matisse. Now Margarito and Paul Williams will vie to see who gets removed from the bottom half of that graphic. The other half of the story in Atlantic City, of course, is the loss for Arturo Gatti, and this would seem to be, Larry Merchant, the logical end of Gatti's long and overwhelmingly entertaining career. A final word from you on what happened to Gatti tonight against Alfonso Gomez, who was totally prepared and did his job.
The sand ran out of his hourglass, Jim. But that was some hourglass for a long time. I happen to collect glass art, and hourglasses are not among them. But if there was one that had Gatti's signature on it, I would want it. You don't make many like Gatti. If you could, other fighters would try to do what he did, but they couldn't. He left us with some sand in that hourglass that we'll never forget.
And while Bob Papa suggested to you in Atlantic City that we might hear from Gatti later on in the telecast, that turns out to be a false hope, as Arturo has been taken to a hospital in Atlantic City for observation. Obviously, we wish him well. Now let's get ready for unbeaten Paul Williams against Antonio Margarito in a matchup of two fighters who have been dominant against their opponents in the welterweight division. Larry, how should one choose the winner in this battle between Margarito, a hardened, durable, proven welterweight still in his prime, and Williams, a young fighter of obviously spectacular physical potential who may not yet have been tested in the way Margarito has?
With absolute, unshakable conviction that your man not only can't lose, but that he must and will win. The supporters of Margarito note with great pride that Floyd Mayweather turned down a very sizable offer to fight Margarito, a negative that turned out to be a positive. And who they ask is Paul Williams anyway. The supporters of Paul Williams are absolutely certain that they have a star, a future man of the boxing who will carry us forward for years to come. A freakily tall man who is freakily talented as well. And they note that Margarito has a negative. That negative is that he has never actually beaten anyone of substance in the ring either. So Jim, let's settle this argument where it should be, in the ring.
And it's going to happen in a few minutes. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape now for Antonio Margarito against Paul Williams. One of the intriguing elements of the fight, height for both fighters. You see the 4-year age advantage for Williams at age 25. Margarito's a tall welterweight at 5'11". Larry Merchant described Paul Williams, you heard, as freakishly tall. 6'1", some people like to say he's 6'2". An arm length advantage of only a ½ inch, however, for the fighter from Aiken, South Carolina, measured from the armpit to the end of the fist. They both weighed in more than a pound under the 147-pound limit, suggesting the serious nature of the training that both fighters bring to this fight. And coming into the ring unofficially tonight, Margarito has added 11¼ pounds up to 157. Paul Williams adding nearly 17 pounds all the way up to 162 overnight. Take a look at some punch stat numbers coming in. The average welterweight counted by CompuBox, meaning good welterweights. The average good welterweight lands, or I should say throws, somewhere between 50 and 60 punches per round. These guys throw twice that many. Margarito counted over the course of several fights, averaging 116 punches per round. Paul Williams also averaging more than 100 punches per round. Who will be able to get off at that level of output in tonight's fight? Whichever one it is likely to be the winner. Rules of the bout. And with Harold Letterman back on the East Coast in Atlantic City, I will tell you that these are the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There's no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight. You go to the scorecards after any foul at the end of round 4, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any of the 12 rounds for which we're scheduled tonight. And now here comes Paul Williams, who has been waiting and waiting and waiting for this fight. He, by his estimation, has had 3 separate training camps to prepare for Antonio Margarito. The last of them took place in red-hot Puerto Rico, and Williams says, I was waiting for Margarito to make up his mind whether he was going to fight Miguel Cotto and me, or me, and the choice to fight Williams instead of Cotto came as a surprise to Margarito's promoter, Bob Arams.
It was a surprise to everyone because Cotto is the bigger fight. A victory over Cotto would vault Margarito into the elite echelon of the division.
I think the crowd response here is partially reflective of the larger number of fans in Southern California who root for Margarito, born in nearby Torrance, now living in Tijuana just below the border. But also it reflects the degree to which Paul Williams excites the masses. The idea of a 6'1" American welterweight with punching power, well, you go back to the days of Tommy Hearns in the early 1980s for the obvious comparison.
This will provide the test of whether he belongs on top or whether he is not just freakily tall, but just a freak and not a true boxer, puncher.
Now, next to walk will be Antonio Margarito, and as you have so deftly pointed out, Larry, it's interesting that Margarito's biggest credentials go not to the fighters whom he has fought and beaten, but the guys who did not choose to fight him. Both Shane Mosley and Floyd Mayweather reportedly turning down $8 million paydays to fight Antonio Margarito. That gave him an aura of danger.
He's one of those fighters, Jim, whose sum is greater than its parts. Not a great puncher, not a flashy boxer. He is just all fighter. But for one reason or another, he's sort of fallen through the cracks of the welterweight division in terms of his exposure and in terms of fan popularity.
8,000 people have bought tickets here. A large enough number for the house to be called a sellout, although not all the seats are yet filled. Perhaps some still late arriving in the Los Angeles tradition. If you're looking for a dark side of Margarito's record coming in, it is that his big slip-up in the past few years, his one loss 3 years ago, was against Daniel Santos in Puerto Rico. Santos, a tall southpaw, over 6 feet tall. Now here he goes again against another tall southpaw, over 6 feet tall.
But completely different styles, and that's his only loss in 10 years. I think we can give him that.
Crowd welcomes Antonio Margarito to the ring. About 12 miles from where he was born in Torrance, California.
One interesting insight into Margarito. He's been married for 8 years. He and his wife decided they would not start a family until he got to where he wanted to be as a fighter. They don't have any children yet.
Very professional attitude every day and every way from Margarito. Williams says, I can bring the same thing. Let's go to Jimmy Lennon Jr. for the in-the-ring introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you, and we welcome you to beautiful Southern California and the Home Depot Center here in the city of Carson for Pride and Punishment, and our featured bout of the evening brought to you by Goosen Tudor Promotions and sponsored by Reebok and the beautiful Caribbean island of St. Lucia. This bout coming away is sanctioned by the WBO president and supervisor is Francisco Valcarcel, along with the California State Athletic Commission, the executive officer Armando Garcia. Introducing to you our judges, scoring this bout from ringside, From West Covina, California, David Mendoza. From Mineral Ridge, Ohio, Tom Miller. And from Santa Clara, California, Marty Salmon. And our third man of the ring, the referee in charge of this bout, Dr. Lou Moret. All right, fans, here we go. 12 rounds of boxing for the WBO Welterweight Championship of the World. And now, ladies and gentlemen in attendance and boxing fans joining us around the world, live from Carson, California, it's time for the main event of the evening. Introducing to you first, on my left, the challenger fighting out of the blue corner, wearing green trunks with white trim. He hails from Aiken, South Carolina. He weighed in at a trim and ready 145 1/2 pounds. He is undefeated in his campaign in the ring with 32 wins, no losses, 24 wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the NABO champion, ranked the WBO #1 welterweight contender. Please welcome the undefeated challenger, Paul the Punisher Williams. And his opponent across the ring. On my right, the defending world champion fighting out of the red corner, wearing black trunks with red, green, and white trim, and hailing from Tijuana, Baja California, Mexico. He weighed in a ready 145 3/4 pounds. His record 34 wins, 4 losses, 1 no contest, and 24 wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, he is making the 8th defense of his title. Please welcome the WBO welterweight champion of the world, introducing Antonio Margarito. Once again, our referee in charge, Dr. Lou Moret, now to give instructions.
Early in fights, most fighters just look for the right combination to open their opponent's lock. These fighters just want to blow up the safe.
I don't know when I've seen a fighter more visibly ecstatic to be in the ring for a big event than Paul Williams, who was grinning openly through all of the pre-fight pageantry and who starts off at a very fast pace against Antonio Margarito. Margarito hasn't thrown a punch yet. Williams is already into double figures.
Margarito is blocking most of those punches.
Neither guy tries to land at an exceptionally high percentage. Both try to just keep throwing. Margarito, in what was regarded as an off-form performance in his last fight against Joshua Clottey, broke a welterweight record by throwing 1,500 plus punches in 12 rounds. There you see him chasing Williams around the ring for the opportunity to get off a couple more. Margarito has begun to go to the body early. Williams' tall, lanky form may offer body angles to Margarito, who's a pretty devoted body puncher, particularly with the left hook.
Williams seems to be poised in the ring with a title holder on the title holder's home turf. Doesn't seem to be flustered at all. Seems calm, professional.
And when Williams landed a chopping left hand across the top, Margarito grinned at him.
A good left hand by Williams that landed right on the chin.
He's getting a lot of punches off here in the first round, and Margarito seems just a bit taken back by the enormous activity level that Williams is producing. Paul Williams has been saying for weeks, I sparred with him 3 years ago. I got the better of him in sparring. I cut him. I hurt him to the body. They had to make me go home. Margarito says, what is he talking about? He was just another guy. It was a sparring session like any other.
Oh, let him go. Step back.
Big right hook by Paul Williams.
One thing that Williams seems to do intuitively is not throw every punch at the same velocity. Sometimes he lightens up, then he throws something heavier. That's a good sign for his young professional career.
If either fighter has presented something of a puzzle in round one to the other, it would certainly appear that Williams, with his range and his volume of punches, has thrown Margarito for a little bit of a loop. We'll see what adjustments are going to be made between rounds.
Yeah, don't get over the confidence. He's waiting for you. Move, keep moving your waist. Block his punches. Then try to get in there. Hey, your head is up too high. Come on, when you're too close, yeah. Throw that uppercut.
But give me some more feints as you deliver. Because you got him there so that whenever you feint, he reacts. That's where you want him, is to take his balance. You got his balance. Deep breath. You're doing good, brother. Okay? All right, let's go, let's go. Do the same thing, Paul.
They were all smiles in Paul Williams' corner between rounds. Larry, you made a great point before the fight. Two guys who average 100 punches per round. Doesn't seem likely that both of them can get off 100 punches per round. In round one, Williams threw 114 punches, landed 21. Margarito threw only 42 punches, landing only 4. Now, he has sometimes started more slowly in the past, but that's a markedly slow start against Williams' blazing beginning, and there's a straight left hand that lands for Williams, and a sweeping left hand that lands for Williams, and a combination to the body, and Margarito hasn't unlocked the puzzle yet.
Margarito trying to force his way inside to neutralize that reach advantage.
Perfectly well said. It seems as though Margarito's idea here is simply to move forward and try to pressure at all costs. But Williams is succeeding in this round, hitting Margarito as he's coming in and getting off first again with that combination. Now Margarito begins concertedly going to the ribcage to try to slow Williams down.
He's going to have to invest in body punching in the early rounds so that the speed differential isn't as big in the later rounds.
Hard right hand across the top from Margarito.
He throws that jab, Jim, almost like a backhand. It's like a flick, a hard flicking jab.
Bringing it up from the waist, and now he snaps Margarito's head back with a straight left hand. And Margarito wants to answer right away, and answers with a hard right. Margarito bombing to the body with his right hand.
And Margarito smiling, but Williams still punching. Good left uppercut, hook, whatever that punch was. He's one of those fighters who can throw punches from all angles, and that creates problems for opponents.
Margarito pressuring forward, but eating leather as he goes. Williams once again throwing in the neighborhood of 100 punches here in the second round. But now Margarito has stepped up his punch count. He's gotten off 80 in this round. Big left hand to the body by Margarito. Williams comes back with a combination upstairs. It's going to be an all-action fight for as long as they can go. Immediately following our live boxing tonight, stay tuned for the premiere of Countdown to Hopkins Wright. A behind-the-scenes look at Bernard Hopkins and Winky Wright as they prepare for their upcoming showdown. Then Saturday, July 21. HBO pay-per-view brings you the live fight between Hopkins and Wright, two of the sport's most accomplished performers.
He's going to cooperate. Don't worry about that. And when it comes time for him to cooperate, you'll know, and you step to him. But just keep on touching it like you're doing, touching it like you're doing, touching it like you're doing. Give it.
Straight right hand down the middle. Don't let him hit you. Yeah, you got to block his shots, block him, and then cut this. And don't let him out. Have him right in your right hand.
Paul Williams threw 114 punches in round one, threw 106 punches in round two. You can see that Harold Letterman, scoring on video from the East Coast, has given Williams each of the first two rounds. Our Emmanuel Stewart also watching on video from the East Coast. Emmanuel, what do you think of what you've seen from Williams and Margarito so far?
Well, first of all, it's really hard for me to believe that it's only 2 inches in height difference. It looks more like 4 inches in height difference. And Williams is winning the fight because he's just busy. He's taking advantage of his height and actually fighting like a tall guy the way he's handling Margarito. Margarito looks to me exceptionally slow tonight. And Williams is winning the fight by just simply staying busy and keeping him at a distance.
Are you surprised?
You don't know what's going to happen going. But Williams is not punching with power. As Larry pointed out earlier, he's flicking his punches. His punches are not even, gloves are not even closed.
Are you surprised at all, Emmanuel, by the level of relaxation that Williams has shown, even on the walk-in, for his first assignment at this level?
I am somewhat surprised at that, but I'm equally surprised. It seemed like the slower and it seemed like no intensity coming from Margarito. He's fighting so slow and lethargic.
Emmanuel Stewart joining us from the East Coast in Atlantic City, where earlier tonight the fighter that he trains and manages, Kermit Cintron, scored a big second-round knockout of Balta Matisse. Now the contact is increasing here in round three.
Now they're at it. Margarito landing his best shots so far. In the body.
All right, stop.
Margarito devotedly going to the body now. You can see his eyes fixed on Williams' waistline.
Well, all he's got to do is look straight ahead, Jim, and he'll be at his waistline.
That left-hand punch that comes up and under, and again it landed for Paul Williams as Margarito basically leaned right into it, trying to get in position to throw a body shot.
You know, for a tall young fighter, he sometimes fights exceptionally well on the inside, Jim.
Big left hand over the top by Williams. Paul Williams still holds the initiative now as we come down the stretch in round number 3. This is the third fight on our welterweight triple header. As we reach the bell, we're going to take you quickly back to Atlantic City for Bob Papa to recap what happened earlier this evening in Cintron Matisse and Gatti versus Gomez. Bob.
All right, Jim, we started things off with Kermit Cintron and Walter Matisse with Cintron's belt on the line. Matisse went down at the end of round number 1. In round number 2, Cintron dropped him one time and then a second time with a powerful combination. He was quicker, sharper, more accurate. Kermit Cintron, his 26th stoppage. Then Arturo Gatti took center stage against Alfonso Gomez from the contender. Gomez dominated this fight from the very beginning. put his punches together. Gatti never had an answer. In round number 7, Gomez was able to step up the pace, and that right hand there ended the night for Arturo Gatti and ended his career as Alfonso Gomez comes up with the victory. Max Kellerman had a chance to talk with Arturo Gatti afterwards before he went to the hospital. We'll have that interview after Margarito and Williams. Back to Jim in Carson, California.
And we're back in Carson, California for the 4th of the scheduled 12 between Paul Williams and Antonio Margarito. Paul Williams starts out the 4th round trying to throw a big left hand across the top. Harold Letterman scoring at ringside in Atlantic City. Harold, how do you have it so far?
Okay, Jim. 3-0, 30-27, Paul Williams. You know, Jim, if you've ever seen Paul Williams fight before, 32 times he stepped in the ring and he's doing exactly what he's doing tonight. I mean, he holds you off with that right jab. He just throws a million right jabs at you. He comes across with that straight left hand. He throws combinations. He doubles and triples that right jab. You know, and when you get in close, he locks you up just like he's doing here to Margarito. Margarito's going to have to come in with some straight body shots, not wide shots to slow this kid down, or Williams is going to box him to death. 3-0, Paul Williams.
You know, sometimes you don't see the same fight on television as you see in person, as Harold himself has pointed out. But we can't disagree with him being ringside.
New information from Atlantic City. I'm told that we did access a last-minute interview with Arturo Gatti. And we will hope to show it to you later on. Gatti has something to say about whether his career has any remaining future at this point. And we'll bring that to you, obviously, after the conclusion of this fight in Carson between Williams and Margarito.
As tall and flexible as Williams is, he seems to sometimes just slingshot his punches. I get the picture that he's David and Goliath. David fighting the title holder, Goliath being the bigger man.
Just want to make clear that when we bring you the Arturo Gatti interview before the end of the evening, Gatti will announce his retirement in the interview. Actually, did announce his retirement in the interview. So be sure to stay tuned to hear what you now know, which is that Arturo Gatti announced his retirement in the interview that we're going to bring you. Hard right hand by Antonio Margarito. A grinning Margarito makes clear that he needs to make every punch count against the landslide of punches he's facing still into the 4th round from Paul Williams.
It's almost, his grin is almost like he's saying, take your best shots, kid. Let's see what happens in the second half of the fight.
And now Margarito starts talking trash to Williams, banging away at the body. And Williams, just as relaxed as ever, pops with the jab and moves away. A 4th consecutive round with more than 100 punches thrown for Paul Williams.
Move the waist, blocking his punches, and then keep it a distance. Just the water.
You got to work with speed like you're doing, okay? Send me some more feints and give me that more jab. Some more hooks are going to work, and some more uppercuts going to work, okay? But don't get in there and push with it.
Here you see Williams landing uppercuts because for whatever reason, everything Margarito's doing is wide, and he leaves a big gap right in the center. And Williams is taking advantage of by landing punches right in between the gloves of Margarito's who's coming in.
CompuBox numbers in the 4th round, Margarito 12 out of 40, Williams 20 out of 104. So for a guy who in the past has averaged 116 punches thrown per round in fights counted by CompuBox, Margarito has been something entirely different tonight, trying to choose the spaces between the constant flow of punches from Paul Williams. It's Williams who's able to stick with his game plan, stick with his previous routine, throwing in excess of 100 punches per round. Margarito's goal, obviously, to make his punches count more, to do damage, to hurt Williams, particularly to the body. So far, Paul Williams seems to have the edge as we're into the 5th of a scheduled 12.
Here's where he changes up. He moves back, he moves back. Now he stands right in front of you, giving you different looks. What's interesting to me, Jim, is you would think a tall fighter like this is vulnerable to the body, but even a good fighter like Margarito cannot get there consistently.
Well, some of the time you just have to defend because Paul Williams is throwing. And when you look at that body, there was a time years ago when one of the women who worked for George Peterson and Peterson's amateur boxing organization said to him, "What are you going to do with this kid? He doesn't have a muscle anywhere in his body." Peterson said, "If he'll listen to me, I'll make him a world champion." He's got a chance to win that belt tonight. And he's going after it with gusto. So far, Margarito's face is holding up against the onslaught. You wonder when you're going to see an eye begin to swell or blood from the nose, because Williams is throwing so freely and landing a lot of the time. Now, for the first time in the fight, Williams seems to seek a little bit of a breather as he finds space in the 5th.
Yeah, he has impressive, really adult poise, I want to say, Jim. An intuitive feel about how to change up, back off, come forward.
Hard right hand by Margarito. They tangle their feet in the center of the ring. And referee Lou Moret, I should say, Lou Moret will rule that a slip. Between rounds, we're going to show you highlights of a fast-rising young Hispanic-American heavyweight. Mexican-American heavyweight prospect Chris Arreola from here in the Los Angeles area had his 21st professional fight tonight against Derek Berry. Was not expected to be a tough test for Arreola, and expectations proved correct.
Fighting a former sparring partner, it's only even in the land of building up resumes, this is a bit under the top. But I like Arreola. He has to prove himself against a substantial opponent.
Y aquí salen boom. Sacan las tiras de pega. Vamos a ver.
Go. But give me some body work. He can take a headshot, but give me some body work. Okay?
I thought Margarito won the last round. Is that the start of the rest of the fight?
Paul Williams still averaging 99 punches per round. He's landed 102 out of 498. Counted by CompuBox through the first 5 rounds. Margarito landing 47 out of 202 in that same span. So Margarito has been more than doubled in punch output. And once again, Williams gets off a flurry to start round 6. Right hand across the top by Margarito. Williams taking the punch well and delivering in return.
Clean, break clean.
Most Margarito watchers consider him a much better puncher with the left hand than with the right. If he's got a money punch, it's the left hook. Harder to land against the southpaw stance. Crushing right hand inside, landed to the jaw by Margarito. Williams keeps flowing. Body shot by Margarito, starting to land with more effect. And now Williams puts up the left hand to try to block the right as Margarito continues to sweep it and land upstairs. Good hard left to the body by Margarito. Williams fires back a 4-punch combination. Lands a straight left right on the chin of Antonio Margarito. And another. Margarito taking all of this very well and continuing to throw back.
Both fighters getting hit and fighting back.
Emmanuel Stewart, do you see any change in momentum now at this point with Margarito clearly more determined to fight back?
Yeah, but still, Williams seems to be unraveled. He's being pressured a lot more, but he seems to be very cool. I think Margarito is doing better, but still, that's still not enough. His punches are too wide. He's not shooting any straight right hands at all.
Yeah.
And Paul Williams is just outworking him. Just regardless of what happened, Paul would not let Margarito take control over the fight.
You know, we've talked about Beckham in this facility. The movie based on his celebrity called Bend It Like Beckham. In boxing, it's better to throw it straight like Clemens than bending it like Beckham. And in this fight, Williams is throwing more of the straight punches.
Let him go, both of you, let him go. Suéltelo.
Down the stretch in round number 6. Both fighters have landed meaningful punches in the round. Margarito continually pressing forward, trying to build up more punch output. He's thrown 60 punches in this round. Williams once again approached 100. Wednesday, August 8th, tune into the premiere of Hard Knocks training camp for the Kansas City Chiefs for an all-access look at what happens behind the scenes at an NFL training camp. Every Wednesday night for 5 weeks, we'll take you inside the locker room, the meeting rooms, and everywhere you can imagine as Coach Herm Edwards pares down his roster and readies the Chiefs for the upcoming season.
Por eso te quiero concentrado aquí.
Keep moving and yeah. All right. Yeah. He's keeping you over the balance. Yeah. But throw punches. Don't stand without throwing punches. Yeah. Come on, let's go. Come on, wake up. We're gonna win.
Okay, you know, Paul, you can't do that, huh?
Copy box numbers in the 6th round. Margarito reached his high water level of the fight, landing 17 out of 44. Williams 22 out of 101. Harold Letterman, how'd you score the first 6?
You know, Jim, in round 6, Antonio Margarito really started to pick it up early in the round. But then in the second half of the round, Paul Williams totally outworked him to win that round. I mean, Margarito's not fighting like a guy who's urgent, who feels that he's losing this fight. I mean, he's got to pick up the pace soon. He's got to really start to come in and land some real hard shots to slow this kid down because Paul Williams is totally outworking him. 6-0, 60-54, Paul Williams.
I have it 5 rounds to 1.
Let him go.
Emmanuel, Margarito's grinning in there as though he thinks he knows something. Does he, or is he grinning through the dark?
Well, he's grinning through the dark, as I'm concerned, because Paul Williams is not going to let him take control over this fight. And I don't think he has the work ethics to punch with enough regularity to slow Williams down. He may have his spots here and there, but Williams is steadily punching, slipping, twisting, turning, and very relaxed. So I think Williams can continue to go the whole fight at this pace.
We've seen Margarito come back in the second half of fights where he's had difficulty early on. Against Daniel Santos in Puerto Rico, he was coming on fast toward the end of the fight, seemingly overtaking Santos on scorecards before the fight was stopped as the result of a cut. And Santos wound up with a razor-thin technical decision.
But even when he's coming on, he's doing everything too slow.
Margarito's right hand drifting there as he tried to reach Williams. Williams able to get away. Fast feet as well as fast hands for the lanky 25-year-old rising star.
Well, you know, Margarito's in trouble when the fans start chanting Mexico, Mexico, trying to urge him on.
They stand and trade.
Neither one seems capable of hurting the other with one punch, so we're getting these vicious exchanges.
Margarito had a momentary chance to land his big left hook and missed it, swinging just over Williams' head. Williams goes back to rocking Margarito with his jab and popping with left hand. Margarito stopping Williams in his track with a hard body shot.
Good round for Margarito, but still, I don't know if he can maintain this pace. But if he could continue at this pace here, he stands a chance. But the biggest thing is Williams has great stamina himself, which is unusual for a tall fighter like that.
Williams trudges back to his corner.
Work up. You got 4 more rounds. You got me? And you hurl tighter. You got me? You want it, don't you? This is it for you, brother. But look, this is what I want you to do. You got to close the gate. You're still backing up. Every time you send a fake, you sell it. He goes.
You got to start the hold. Okay? I'm ready to go for 8 rounds now and giving you a hard warning. No more.
I ain't see no holding. Huh? Hey, look, Paul.
When you block his punches, throw to the body. Up and top. The top and the bottom. Come on. Just the way you're doing. Keep them 1, 2, 3. He's going to fall. He's not showing too much. When he goes down, hit him.
You saw CompuBox numbers, which showed you that Margarito is gradually closing the gap in landed power punches. In the 7th round, Williams landed 28 out of 99, Margarito 23 out of 63. But more of Williams' connects were jabs, and Margarito landed enough power shots that for the first time in the fight, Harold Letterman gives Margarito a round. 8th round begins. There's a small mouse emerging under the right eye of Paul Williams. Margarito trying to rip Williams' body up with every body shot. Hard right hand by Paul Williams inside. Between rounds, Emmanuel Stewart, referee Lou Moret, warned Paul Williams to stop holding. I don't think he's been holding all that much. Long-armed fighters often get warned for this.
Don't hold.
Yeah, you know, actually the crowd and the momentum, everything really favors Margarito in this particular fight for the most part. If Margarito could just maintain some power and a little speed, he could still pull this fight out. But he's got to pick up his pace, though. It's hard to do with a guy like Williams, because Williams just outworks you. That's the biggest thing. He's not a big puncher, but he's punching and twisting and contorting his body and punching from all angles. And even if you have a good spot, he's going to come right back again.
Roundhouse right for Margarito momentarily drives Williams back.
Margarito seems to have solved the rhythm of Williams to a degree, because he's blocking a lot of his punches.
And he landed a
tremendous right hand right there on Williams.
Yep, that was a big right hand, Emmanuel. And there's another big right hand.
And Williams is fighting a lot closer now. He's fighting very, very close, where he's within the range for Margarito. If Margarito could just pick up the speed of his punches, he could catch him, because Williams is not reaching his distance that much anymore.
Williams clearly is the sharper puncher, but opponents of Margarito have said he has a thudding impact. He hurts you with every punch. And there's Margarito across the top again with the right hand. Margarito might prefer to be doing his damage with the left hook, but in this fight he's going to have to score with the right, and increasingly he does so. Williams has seen more at pains to find room in the ring in the 8th round than at any other time in the fight. Good hard body shot by Margarito. That left hook to the body punctuated the round.
Look, you got to give him angles. You got to, Paul. You got to give him a jab. Look, you're standing in front of him too long. Now he's beginning to realize that he can hit you because you're standing in front. Look, this is the time when the next few rounds, Paul, listen at me. You got me? Now look, you got this thing.
Keep throwing
and you
that
can do
favorite
it.
punch, the uppercut. Yeah. Try to feint him in the bottom and go on the top. Come, yeah, relax a little bit, okay? Yeah. Right. Work in the bottom and throw the right hand.
Our interpreter tonight in Antonio Margarito's corner is Ray Torres. Emmanuel?
Here you see Margarito get close lane, right hand, left hook, and as long as he can continue to crowd Paul and punch with shorter punches, he can land them, but the fact is I don't think he can sustain it long enough.
Combi box numbers in the 8th round. Margarito 21 of 58. Williams 30 out of 104. More and more it becomes a battle between Williams' high volume, the number of punches he's throwing and landing, and the question of whether Margarito can reverse all that with impact, with power.
Maybe this is what Margarito was smiling about in the early rounds, knowing that the speed differential would close as the fight went on.
Big left uppercut by Antonio Margarito. Andy lands a straight right hand as Williams let his hands go again. 4-punch combination by Paul Williams. Jab, jab, jab. Coming back, trying to stay active, trying to live up to his trainer's command. And you heard trainer George Peterson between rounds, Emmanuel, saying to Williams, he knows that you're going to stand in front of him and he's got a chance to hit you. But Williams seems to want to fight.
But Williams is fighting at the distance and where he can land punches more effective now than Margarito. And Margarito is really having a problem trying to get inside of the fight now. He's just he's like shut out.
Williams is doing well fighting flat-footed.
Once again, we remind you that after this fight is completed, we will go back to Atlantic City for the interview we secured with Arturo Gatti after Gatti left the ring following his knockout loss to Alfonso Gomez. It's a retirement announcement interview, which we will bring you following the fight. Standing toe-to-toe in the center of the ring.
All these punches landed and very little sign of it on either fighter's face.
Well, I think Margarito is normally a puncher, but his punches are just so slow tonight, and he's walking and getting all off balance, so he's really not getting maximum power in his punches. And Williams, even though he has a great knockout record, I've never considered him a knockout puncher. He just gradually wears guys down because he doesn't have his gloves as tight at the end of his punches. But he's a guy that gets his knockouts back through accumulation of punches.
Incidentally, they're fighting here tonight with 8-ounce gloves. If this fight had taken place in Las Vegas, they'd be wearing 10-ounce gloves. A lot of people were thinking that perhaps one or the other fighter could get knocked out tonight because of the smaller gloves.
A big round, I thought, for Williams. It showed what this kid is made of to come back on Margarito that way after the previous few rounds.
You got to get more angles. You look good. You got to give him more power. Listen to me. In 2 rounds to become the champion of the world, okay? You got to give him more angles. He cannot deal with them angles and send more feints. Every time you sell the feint, Paul, he takes it, okay? All you need to do...
You seem to be a balance. He's going to come at you now, boxing, but you got to be aggressive. Come on, hard. Throw in there.
Here you see Paul land a right hook. And in fact, that's probably, I think, been his most effective punch tonight, aside from the left uppercut. Because Margarito doesn't even see the punches coming. And Margarito's punches are just too wide. And even at close quarters, Williams is out-punching him because his punches are a little shorter.
9 rounds in the books. We go to the 10th. Harold, how do you have it so far?
Okay, Jim, 7 rounds to 2. 88-83, Paul Williams. Jim, I think Antonio Margarito either needs a knockdown or a knockout to win this fight because there's only 3 rounds to go, and I got Paul Williams 5 points up. Williams, just like Larry Merchant said, in round 9, kept the fight at really the proper distance. Margarito couldn't get inside. Williams peppered him with straight right hands, with right jabs, with that straight left hand, with uppercuts. He won the 9th round handily. He takes a 7 rounds to 2 lead. Paul Williams with a 5-point lead.
I have it 6 rounds to 3. Which means that Margarito conceivably could get a draw and retain his title if he won the rest of the rounds.
Round 10 so far, more of the same. Nothing in the first minute of the 10th round to suggest to you that the kid from Aiken, South Carolina is in any danger of slowing down against Tijuana's Antonio Margarito. Heads in the center of the ring and just keep fighting. Margarito seems to be slowing down again after 3 rounds in which he was clearly trying to step up the pace and flurry to the body in particular to try to bring some damage to Williams.
Forget the styles, Jim. Let's just enjoy the mayhem. His style now seems to be out of the gym.
Let him hold, Paul. Let him go. Let him go.
Williams, if he wins the fight, is going to have a lot to talk about. Once again, you can't help but focus on the notion of guys who turned Margarito down, big-name fighters who didn't want to fight him. He got a reputation, particularly on boxing websites, as the most avoided man in the sport. Paul Williams spent 2 years saying, I'm going to become his mandatory. I want to fight him. And tonight he's trying to make the most of that chance.
And remember, as we've noted before, Margarito already has a deal to fight Cotto if he wins.
By Williams as well. Margarito lands 2 searing straight right hands. A little rally by Antonio Margarito down the stretch of round number 10. What a fight in Carson.
Deep breath. Wipe his face, somebody. Wipe his face. You got 2 rounds. You got 2 rounds, Paul. Okay, Paul. You staying in it.
You got to throw that right hand. You bob and weave and don't throw the right hand, the over right hand. And when you land that right hand, come back with the left hook. He goes over the one way, hit him there.
Here you see Margarito get in close, land a good right hand, and in fact, that's been his most effective punch that he's landed. Has been those short right hands. And you notice he always is effective when he gets in very close. And Williams is not that coordinated, and he lands just little short punches, but he's just not doing enough of it.
CompuBox numbers in round 10: power punches. Margarito opening up 17 out of 76. Williams 14 out of 61.
Williams has never been in these championship rounds before. It would be a pretty good idea, being here in California, Margarito country, for Williams to win one of these last two rounds if he wants to get the decision.
The judges are from California, Ohio, and California. The crowd is trying to cheer Williams into contention in the fight. Or excuse me, cheer Margarito into contention in the fight. Although certainly Williams has made some fans here tonight with his non-stop style. Emmanuel, do you see Antonio Margarito gaining any ground in in his quest here.
Yes, he's landed more clean punches the last 2 rounds than he's landed in the entire fight, for as I can see.
Hard right hand by
A lot
Margarito.
of short right there, little short punches. He's getting closer and landing right hands continually now.
Big left hand uppercut by Margarito. Williams keeps throwing. Margarito thinks he's done some damage.
There lies the problem for Margarito. Even though he's landing, he cannot take a break, because once he slows down, Williams will continue to go right back to pumping and winning points again.
Margarito has Williams in the deep water that fighters talk about, where he's never been before.
Blood
That is a
from
big
above
cut.
the left eye of Paul Williams. Williams is bleeding over his left eye. Margarito is strafing him with power shots inside. Big right hand. Antonio Margarito, another right hand on the cut. Paul Williams fading ever so slightly here in the 11th. Margarito with another straight right hand shot. This has been a huge round for Antonio Margarito now, who desperately needed it.
Remember, Jim, in the interview when Margarito said he would have to win this fight with his will, and that's what he's trying to do right this minute.
But what has happened right there, as soon as he slowed down, Paul Williams is consistently still. Even though he got hit a lot, Paul is still right back taking control again. And that's what's giving him the advantage in consistency.
Fascinating. Though put on the defensive by Margarito, Williams' response isn't to go on the defensive at all, but rather to throw as many jabs as he can to seize the initiative back. Paul Williams fighting in the 11th round for the first time in his career, finds it very tough going. Antonio Margarito has started to make his point, but is it too late?
Deep breath, Paul. Paul, this is the last round. Wake up. This is the last round, brother. Okay? Listen, you still can do what you want to do with this guy. Okay? But listen, you stand in the pocket too long. He's going to come out in that Paul and try to stop you. You got me? Okay, now you got it.
That was your round. That's the way we're going to do it. We got to do the same thing. Attack him. Be first. Block his punch and counterpunch him. Block and counterpunch. That's the way we're going to do. That's the way we're going to win.
Standing ovation in Carson, California for two fighters who have fought 11 furious rounds. They go to the 12th. If Paul Williams can get off 69 punches in this round, he will have averaged 100 punches per round in the fight. Is it possible to do that and lose? Margarito will hope to make the point.
You heard the instructions from the corner, which Margarito has been doing for the last rounds. Block and counterpunch. Block and counterpunch. But Williams seems highly energized here. Did Margarito punch himself out in the last few rounds?
Emmanuel Stewart, there's a huge cut over the left eye of Paul Williams, but it doesn't seem to bother him for the moment.
No, nothing is going to bother him. He's determined to win this fight, and he's been fighting consistently for the whole 12 rounds. Almost every minute of each round he's been fighting. Even when he would lose in spots, he still continued to fight. And that's what's making it so difficult for Margarito to win, because Margarito only can fight in spots.
Williams takes it and comes back with combinations of his own. What courage the young fighter has shown, Emmanuel.
This is a very, very good fight for Williams right now. He's really made Margarito look like a very ordinary fighter.
If Margarito loses, his date with Miguel Cotto goes down the drain. And now you see the outline of the problem Cotto may be facing toward continued progress in the welterweight division. What if at some point he had to face a showdown with a guy who's 6'1".
And busy all the time, punching and twisting and turning, but all the time punching.
Jim, if Williams wins this fight, the odds are that Mosley will fight Cotto.
That's right. There's no immediate prospect of a fight between Cotto and Williams. It's just that when you consider Cotto's progress well down the road, at some point it could be the logical step. But now 20 seconds to go here, and Antonio Margarito has not been able to get Paul Williams to wear down.
Give the kid his props. He's come back after 2 hard rounds and has won this last round. And that, presumably, but not positively, should cement a title victory.
He put a ribbon on it with a big right hook at the end. Both fighters hold their arms up, but one does so way more convincingly. What a performance by young Paul Williams. His debut at the top level of the division, he took on a guy whom a lot of people had seemed to avoid. He met him head on in the center of the ring and fought him for 12 full rounds.
And the way both of these fighters fought, Jim, it's the type of fight that afterwards you say, I want to see the winner in a big fight, but I want to see the loser as well.
One judge, David Mendoza from California, not a ton of title fight experience. No notable fights for us to report to you. Tom Miller of Ohio, 21 title fights. One of those who scored Sergey Liakovic, the winner over Layman Brewster in Liakovic's decision victory last year. Marty Salmon of California, only 3 title fights, and again, no notable fights for us to report to you. Paul Williams threw 125 punches in the 12th round, his high number for the fight. Harold, how did you score it?
Okay, Jim. 116, 112, 8 rounds to 4, Paul Williams. I agree with Larry. Paul did a terrific job in round 12. I mean, you know, you figure the kid would have been tired because he got hammered in rounds 10 and 11. But, boy, he kept Antonio Margarito at the proper distance, threw a zillion punches, just outworked him. That was the story of the fight. He really deserves this fight. I mean, he boxed beautifully. 116, 112, 8 rounds to 4, Paul Williams.
There's the cut over the left eye of Williams. Non-essential at this point. And now Jimmy Lennon already has the scores. Let's find out who won the fight with Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action, the judges are in agreement. We have a unanimous decision. Here are the score totals. Judge at ringside, Tom Miller, sees the bout 116 to 112. Judges David Mendoza and Marty Salmon both score the bout 115 to 113. All 3 in favor of the winner and the new WBO welterweight champion of the world, Paul the Punisher Williams.
Paul Williams threw 1,256 punches in 12 rounds against one of the roughest, toughest welterweights alive. And for that, he has a title belt and his biggest victory so far among 33 consecutive wins. Raised in Aiken, South Carolina, trained in Aiken, South Carolina, now lives across the river in Augusta, Georgia. Williams has a giant victory. And for Antonio Margarito, after years of recovering from losses early in his career, when he was not managed or promoted as a top fighter, the long drive toward the top is momentarily halted by Williams' victory. CompuBox numbers are spectacular. Williams landing 78 more punches, or make it 88 more punches, and throwing nearly 500, or actually more than 500 more punches, 512 more punches, nearly doubling the punch output. Actually, that graphic does not conform to the final numbers I have final numbers that show Williams throwing 1,256 punches in the fight and averaging more than 100 punches per round, and I believe those numbers are correct because they come from the computer right in front of me. Now let's go to Larry Merchant standing by with the winner, Paul Williams.
Thank you very much, Jim. Congratulations, Paul. You seem to have him at bay for the first half of the fight, winning easily. How hard was the second half?
You know, the second half was real hard. You know, I knew Margarito was gonna come on the second half. So, you know, he was hitting me with a lot of shots and stuff. You know, but, you know, you got to have a heart of a warrior. You got to keep on pushing it through. Even though he hit me with the cut, I got the cut, you know, so I feel the blood coming in my eye and stuff. But, you know, he can't let none of that bother. You know, I come to war, and I know he came to bring it, but, you know, I got to take my head off. I had to take it from the champion. You know, I put the rounds in early, you know.
Did he ever hurt you, particularly late in the fight when he was reaching you more?
Well, I got to say again, I got stung again. You know, he hit me with some nice, good shots, but, man, the training that we did in Puerto Rico, you know, it prepared me, you know, to take these shots and stuff. And, you know, I had to keep coming out. I know it was getting closer to 11 and stuff. I know the 12th, I had to come out, I had to use that jab a little more than I wanted to.
You seem to get a little bit fatigued late in the fight, 9th, 10th, 11th rounds. Did you know you had to suck it up to win the last round?
Oh, yes, sir. You know, Mr. Peterson told me, you know what I'm saying, if you want it, you got to get it, you know. And I had to pick it up in these late rounds, you know, even though because I didn't really get in my rhythm like I wanted to. You know, we ain't had time to warm up like we normally do, but, you know, no excuses. I had to come by and do what I got to do.
Who are you going to call out tonight?
Well, I want Cotto. If I can't get Cotto, I want to get a shot at Mayweather.
Thank you. Congratulations, Paul. Now, Jim, we'll talk to the, I guess, old WBO title holder. Antonio, you were smiling through the early rounds as though you knew that you or thought you would catch him in the later rounds. Did you think you did enough to win?
Al principio de la pelea, porque pensabas tú que sabías que lo ibas a agarrar en lo último.
Pues es que realmente me reía porque los golpes bloqueaban en mis manos, o sea, nunca entró ni un golpe limpio.
I was smiling because I wasn't getting hit. I was blocking all the punches, and that's why I was smiling.
He was outworking you, winning by simply throwing more punches early in the fight. Did you know that you might have to stop him in the second half of the fight?
Él actualmente tiró más golpes que tú, estaba trabajando más que tú. ¿Sabías tú que necesitabas un knockout para ganar en lo último?
No, para nada. A lo mejor quizás tiró más golpes que yo, pero yo conecté mal. Los de él nunca llegaron y estuve trabajando. Yo sabía que iba arriba en las tarjetas, pero no sé qué pasó. Fue un robo eso.
Yeah. He threw more punches than I, but I landed the harder punches. I think it was a robbery.
When you went back to your corner at the end of the fight, did you think you had won the fight?
Cuando se terminó la pelea, fuiste a tu esquina, ¿sabías tú que había ganado la pelea?
Sí, claro. Desde que iba como en el noveno asalto, yo sabía que iba adelante en las tarjetas. Yo creo que gané los últimos rounds también y fue un robo la pelea. Realmente no estoy a gusto.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought I won the fight. Going back after the 9th round, I knew I was ahead on the cards. I won the last couple of rounds. I still think it was a robbery.
Thank you very much, Antonio, for a good fight.
No es cierto, Cobrita. Tú no estás viendo, tú sabes que ganamos las peleas. Un saludo para Tijuana y todos saben que ganamos las peleas.
Say hello to Tijuana and Cobrita. Everybody knows I won this fight.
Síguete recuperando, Burguitos.
Thank you. Jim?
Fascinatingly, the fight was on the table going to the 12th round. Both California judges scored the 12th round for Williams to give him his victory margin, 115-113. If Antonio Margarito could have won the 12th round on the two California judges' scorecards, you would have had a majority draw in the fight. Quickly, let's take a look at the welterweight graphic with which we began the evening, looking at 6 prominent names in the welterweight division. And Mayweather and Cotto now get to share the top rung by themselves. Mosley, Paul Williams, and Kermit Cintron along the bottom row. Antonio Margarito's name removed from that top welterweight graphic as of this moment. Right now, we're going to take you back to Atlantic City, New Jersey, But before we go to Atlantic City, a quick comment from Larry Merchant about Williams' win over Margarito and their comments in the ring.
Jim, understandably, Margarito felt he had won the fight. That's his kind of fight. We've seen him in a lot of tough, hard fights like that. But I thought Paul Williams won the fight, and I think any fair-minded person would as well. But I want to add something here tonight. We've talked a lot about the welterweight picture, how all the fights are coming out of that welterweight division. Well, here's a news break, as we used to say in the old print business. The indications are very strong that Oscar De La Hoya is going to follow his former dance partner and now business partner, Shane Mosley, back to the welterweight division. He is walking around now, I'm told, in the low 150-pound range. He thinks that this is where he should close his career, and that mixes all of the projections up and changes everything. Because if you recall, everybody's saying that his fight with Mayweather was a bit of a disappointment because of all of the hype and the buildup and the expectations. It generated so much money, close to $150 million, that you know that the people in boxing want to see more of De La Hoya and more big fights. And we are going to see De La Hoya most probably in the welterweight division in the future.
Indeed. And of course, once again, although Mayweather and De La Hoya took place at 154 pounds, Floyd Mayweather's far more natural weight is 147, and all expectations are that if he campaigns in the future, that's also in the welterweight division. And that's one of the reasons why we had a great welterweight triple header tonight, beginning with 2 fights in Atlantic City before we came here to Carson, California.